Hi Tarot Tribe, it's Ethany, and today I am here with my final installment for my Tarot for Beginners. We are at number 6, the 6th installment, and I have titled this one Busting Tarot Misconceptions and Absolute Bullshit, and I am really excited to get into this video subject. For those of you who have not seen the first 5 parts of this series, it is on my YouTube channel, and it's also over at ethany.com, and I've got links to all 5 of them in the blog post transcription, which you can find in the description below. So things are about to get very juicy up in here. Whenever we speak about busting myths or misconceptions or having a strong opinion one way or another about a subject we are passionate about, it may get a little bit rubbing up people the wrong way, but I still feel very passionately about talking about these subjects. I'm going to try and curb my cussing in this video, but I cannot promise it because these things get me pretty ready to slap someone verbally like only a true Queen of Swords can. Before I begin, as with everything that I share, take what resonates with you and simply leave the rest. Now this is a long list, there are 15 of them. So I've got my Hedwig mug full of ginger lemon tea and I'm ready to rock and roll. What does my tea bag say today? Oh, the principal ingredient of life is love. Isn't that sweet? I love these ones, these little yogi ones. So let's face it, there is a ton of information out in the wonderful, wonderful intertubes that we call the internet, and everyone and their pet fish named Jaws has an opinion. I wanted to talk about some of the very common misconceptions that are still making the rounds in our tarot groups, our tarot community, on chat boards, when people go to learn the cards, what people tell them, and things like that. Now, these are things that I have heard myself. I've had students come and tell me, or people who've come to have readings with me. And I would like to thank the amazing community of members over at our Tarot Readers Academy Facebook group, as they helped me collate this list of tarot misconceptions. All right, now let's dig into it. Misconception number 1, you have to be from an unbroken line of witches to be a real tarot reader. Now, it seems like a very specific requirement to be a tarot reader, that you have to be from an unbroken line of witches. But I have actually heard this before from students and from people who have been interested in the tarot. There is almost so much wrong with this opinion, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, what constitutes a real witch in the first place? Because that is another fiery can of worms to open and to even get down into. And how are you expected to validate an unbroken lineage? So I actually find that this is utter BS. I call bullshit on this. You do not need to be able to trace your lineage back to some famous mystical person. You don't have to have been a high priestess of Avalon in your past life, or Cleopatra, or some Joan of Arc, or the Oracle of Delphi. You do not need any of that to read the tarot. Misconception number 2. If you're a tarot reader, then you're automatically a witch. This kind of piggybacks onto the first misconception that you about the link between tarot and witchcraft. You do not need to be a witch to read the tarot, full stop. Yes, there are plenty of witches that do read the cards, but they are not mutually exclusive things. There are atheist tarot readers, Christian tarot readers, agnostic tarot readers, and everything beautiful in between. Labels are just that, labels. What you choose to identify with, or not, may the case be, is nobody else's business but your own. Misconception number 3. You have to be psychic to be a tarot reader. I can certainly see where the stereotype comes from with this one. There have been so many instances and many times when you see a tarot reader in Hollywood or represented in popular culture, they often have a mystical gift, or they are a witch, or they're a psychic. With hotlines, the old readers, and lots of stereotypes around, this has helped this misconception stick around. But you certainly do not need to be a psychic to read the cards, and there are plenty of amazing tarot professionals out there who confess to having no interest whatsoever in working with the tarot in a psychic way. How you choose to read the cards is completely up to you. It does not make you better or worse than anybody else. There are many different kinds of readers and types of readers. I put together a fun little quiz called the Tarot Personality Quiz, which you can find over at my website. And there I talk about 4 different types of readers that you may be, and you can check that out if you haven't had a chance to do it. Misconception number 4, you shouldn't buy your own deck. This is something that I see pretty much, if not daily, weekly in tarot groups. People saying, I've heard that you shouldn't buy your own tarot deck because it won't work. I think that is complete bullshit. Some people believe that decks only have power if they have been received as a gift or stolen. I mean, I would love to know where the stolen thing comes from, but I do know that many stores keep their tarot cards under lock and key because they are often stolen. Personally, apart from the moral implications of stealing, I wouldn't want to work with a tool that started out in a negative way with me in a relationship that didn't feel like it was validating the space that it was in. You also do not need to have a deck given to you for it to work. I buy most of my decks that I work with. While I'm happy to share my wish list to Yule and my birthdays for people to purchase cards that I haven't gotten around to buying for myself, the ones that I have never let me down. If you are unsure about how to go about buying your first tarot deck, I have a blog post and video that you can check out, and I popped the link to that in the blog post in the description below. Misconception number 5. No one but the tarot reader can touch the tarot cards. This is a misconception that I think has been mislabeled. I call this more a personal and professional preference and not a rule. People can touch your cards and the reading can be great. People don't have to touch the cards and the reading can be just as great. It is more about the skill of the reader and whether or not they would like their cards to be personally handled. For face-to-face readings, for example, I have my clients shuffle the deck for a variety of reasons. It helps them focus, it gives them part in the reading ritual, it makes them feel involved in the exchange, and their energy has gone into the cards. But as I do most of my readings online via Skype or email or video recordings, most of my clients don't even get a chance to touch the cards. So I've found that in my practice, either way works perfectly. It is all up to your personal preference. And if you are starting out or trying and want to see what works for you, try both ways. See if you want to have someone handle your deck and then do a reading without them touching the deck and see what works for you. There is nothing wrong either than if you work face to face with people, asking people to wash their hands if you're worried about them having dirty hands touching your cards. I know that there are many readers like Vix from New Age Hipster has talked about how she likes to wash her hands before she does a reading, and I do that as well. I don't think there's anything wrong with asking people to handle your cards in a way that is respectful. Misconception number 6. Tarot is just fortune telling. There are some readers who do predictive tarot or who use it for foretelling the future, for that is what fortune telling is. And I am one of those people. But there are plenty of readers who do not do any type of predictive reading or fortune telling. Fortune telling can get a bad rap because there are misunderstandings about how it works. There is also a lot of urban legends around fortune telling that has created a ton of baggage that goes with that label. The individual tarot reader will be the only one who dictates how they use the tool of the tarot, which is why I advocate that readers are open about how they read the cards and what they believe the scope and limitations of the readings are for people who want to come and work with them. If you are upfront with your clients and the people you're working with, they know what to expect from you, and you'll be able to clear the air and be on the same page before you start a reading with them. Misconception number 7, the tarot is evil. Now, this is something that I hear nearly every day in one way, shape, or form, whether it's I've been told by someone that it's evil, or, someone has left me a horrible comment on YouTube, or I'm scared because of some of the images in the cards that the tarot is evil. Some people actually believe that the tarot is a doorway for demons, evil spirits, and all sorts of nasty stuff, which I find very hard to reconcile, because no object itself is evil. Like, my cup of tea is not evil, it's just a cup of tea. So where does this sort of thought that these cards with pretty pictures on them are themselves inherently evil? Well, the Bible, depending on, again, and we've got lots of different holy books in the world, and they all have very many different things to say, and they've all been translated and interpreted by people over many, many years. So some of these books are not a fan of fortune tellers, sorcerers, mediums, and any form of divination, versus in them referencing them kind of lumps them all into the same categories, murderers, and calling them abominations. So that is because these are old texts and these are beliefs that like millions of people, if not billions of people collectively hold together, that is a very powerful thing. And yeah, there's a card called the devil, and people don't understand what that means and think that means a Christian context of Satan or the devil. And they believe that is evil. Or maybe they saw it in a D-grade horror movie being used in some horrible way. Beliefs die hard. They die really, really hard. I own an impressive mountain of tarot decks, and I have read the cards daily for years, and I can confirm that no portals to hell have opened in my house. Tarot has only ever enriched my life and has never brought me anything negative or bad at all. Again, it is a tool. Can you use it to open a door to something else? Well, if that's what floats your boat and you want to go ahead and try, then, you go ahead and do it. But the tarot itself is not evil. Misconception number 8. Tarot cards need to be stored in wood and silk, or tarot cards need to be stored in a very specific way. You know what? Store your decks however the frick you like. Like, the wood and silk idea has come about because those things are said to protect the cards from negative energies, and it's the same reason why old coffins wear wood and silk as well. But you can use anything you want. I mean, silk is an extremely beautiful, high vibration, protective cloth. So if you can get silk, that's amazing. But if you have to keep your decks in the boxes they come with, there's nothing wrong with that at all. You can remove negative energies if you want to cleanse them, if they've been getting a little bit down on energy-wise because you've been using them a lot, with a nice tumbled black tourmaline on top of it, or cleanse it with sage smoke, or however you choose to do that under the moonlight, or choose another ritual or way to store your cards that resonate with you personally. On the 31 Days of Tarot this year, we talked about deck storage, and I showed a number of different ways that I store my decks. And believe me, they are slowly taking over my apartment. So store them however you like. Misconception number 9. The death card means someone is about to die. I mean, if you think that means delivering a sickening death drop, then maybe. But the death card in the Major Arcana rarely means physical death at all. Has it come up in a reading for me where the card has represented actual physical death? It has. But it's rare, and those situations are always handled extremely carefully. I would never say to someone, well, you're about to die, or say that a loved one of theirs is about to die. That is an awful thing to put into anybody's head. As a tarot reader, you are sitting in a position of knowledge and power, and to say, even plant that seed for someone, I think can be quite an abuse of power if it's not done in a way that is correct and compassionate and right. But to just throw that out when the card comes out, I think is a massive disservice to our industry. I'm not God. I'm not a doctor. So I have no right to say that to somebody, especially someone who is in need of guidance. In the rare cases where the cards have represented physical death, the client has offered over information where that conversation could actually take place. For example, a client came to me and when the death card was flipped over, I just sort of looked at her because there was a number of different supporting cards that did actually indicate a physical ending of a life. And she looked at me and she said, "It's okay, my husband is in hospice. He's had terminal cancer." So she offered that information over to me so we could have the conversation about how best to support her and him, and then her going forward and his transition. That is a very different conversation to have and a very different reading than just flipping over the death card and saying, "Well, you better get your affairs in order because you're about to die." Tarot readers do have a lot of power. I do believe that. So that's why I teach people. That's why I blog. This is why I record videos and generally try to raise the bar for our profession by talking about some of the harder things that we may come across in our practice, and ways in which we can deal with them and leave our clients feeling good and not have them worried for their life or worried for the life of someone they love. Misconception number 10. You can't effectively read the tarot for yourself. Well, most tarot readers read for themselves. In fact, I share a lot of spreads for self-reflection and they are extremely popular. Do I feel it's always wise to read your own cards? Nope. But it does depend on the situation. We are extremely invested in our own lives, which we should be. It's our own lives, but we can't always be objective. Sometimes you need an outsider's perspective and someone outside of the realm of being invested in what's going to happen in your life to kind of tell you how it is. But there is nothing stopping anyone from reading for themselves. I know that if I am too close to a situation, or I keep getting a card that comes up over and over again, or I just go, you know what, I'm not going to be objective about this, I go to a reader for sure. And I have a Rolodex of people that I trust to go to readings. So I feel as though we can read very successfully for ourselves, but we should also know where our limits are. And that's a personal thing that everyone has to come to themselves. Misconception number 11, you can't work with a second-hand or used deck. Well, I call total bullshit on this one. Swapping and getting second-hand decks is awesome. It also reduces waste. We do not need pretty decks in landfills if we can avoid it. I have worked with many second-hand decks and I love them. One of my favorites, a workhorse deck of mine over the years, the Morgan Greer Tarot, was a second-hand deck. And I've used that deck to read for hundreds of clients. I always cleanse and welcome in a new deck into my house and into my practice before I use it. There is nothing wrong with using a second-hand deck. Tea break. You still with me, everyone? Woo, we're getting there. Misconception number 12. Some of the cards in the deck are just plain bad. So I see the tarot as a pictorial representation of the book of life. And life is not always easy or positive, but that does not make the cards or what they represent inherently good or inherently bad. There are some cards that are overwhelming. There are some cards that are unwelcoming. There are some cards that you would surely like to avoid if possible. But life is unavoidable. Some of those hard things are unavoidable. The tarot would not be a balanced system if it shied away from the realities of the human experience as a wonderful thing, as a woeful thing, as a complete picture of life, change, rebirth, death, and all the experiences in between. I have an old post about the so-called negative or bad cards in the deck if you want to explore that more. But I feel that, there's been a kind of there's been an addition to our industry of decks that are a little less offensive or a little less dark or a little less they're a little easier for people to get into the tarot. And if that's what you need to get into it, if you are you feel as though you need to work with a kinder deck or a lighter deck, I hate that use of the word, then, you know, you can go for it. But I mean, I came to the tarot from a place of knowing that everything is balanced and not wanting to shy away from the shadow work and not shying away from the stuff that makes us grow and change and evolve. So I was quite comfortable with a lot of the representations and the reflections being used. But I do, so while it's not my cup of tea, I know that it's a lot of people's cup of tea, and it may get them on the road to exploring some of those more entrenched, hard things in their life and free themselves from the fear around those cards and those experiences. Misconception number 13. There is only one way that is right to read the tarot. Now, I'm so sick of people saying that there's only one right way to do anything spiritual or to work with any tool like the tarot. These statements are used to alienate people and to leave people out of being included in our community. The tarot is a tool, and you can use that any way you want. There is nothing stopping you from using the tarot as a blinking doorstop. I mean, I would never. But you can still do that if you want to. There is a system, there is a tarot system, and there are more than one, and I've spoken about that, you know, Thoth or Marseille or Rider-Waite, Visconti Forza. There is a complete system in those constructs. There is magic, there are deep meanings within each and every one of those systems, within each and every one of those cards, and there is a reason we learn tarot card meanings. But not everyone wants to learn that way. Not everyone can learn that way. And not everyone wants to read that way. How you read is based on how you personally believe the tarot works and your own style of learning and reading and connecting with the cards. So if someone doesn't read the cards the way you do, that's cool. It just means that we are using the tarot as an evolving tool, and that is amazing. Live and let live. I think the more the merrier. The more we learn to use the deck in different ways, the deeper our practice and our industry goes. But I feel there is no room for anyone to say that there is only one right way to read the cards. I really don't. I feel it's, like I said, it's just used to alienate people and make them feel excluded from our community. Misconception number 14. The tarot can foretell a fixed future. Well, this all depends on how you view things like destiny, fate, free will, and all that philosophical jazz. I personally believe that there is no such thing as a foretold or fixed future, especially when it comes to the tarot. I believe it can, based on a snapshot of the current situation, give someone options for moving forward and the most likely unfolding of events based on decisions and current circumstances. I do not believe the tarot can foretell anything carved in stone. I also believe that you can choose certain things to either bring them into your life or avoid them, sometimes altogether if you're quite lucky. I have a full video and blog post on the role of fate destiny in a tarot reading. If you want to see that, it's on my channel and also in the transcription over at ethany.com. And I had a lovely conversation with the one and only Benabel Wen earlier this month about, you know, our astrology charts and our and, you know, can we change our chart? Can we change our sort of blueprint and destiny? So this is another thing that I love about the tarot so much, is when we bring different perspectives and different experiences, and we are open to having philosophical open conversations, then we deepen our knowledge and our, not only of the tarot, but of our lives and of the universe and of relationships and each other. And that's a pretty cool thing. Misconception 15, the tarot can control people. You mean all this time I could have been using the tarot to get my rent dropped or have my apartment for free, and drat. While a tarot reader can certainly try to control or manipulate you, you are the one that decides to give over that power. The cards themselves can't control shit. They are cards, as in pieces of paper. Beautiful pieces of paper, but they're pieces of paper. Anyone sprouting this fear-based nonsense is likely scamming you, and I have a lot to say about that behavior in a post on my blog and channel about tarot scammers. I also understand and recognize, and I do not victim shame people who have been conned. Con artists are extremely good at their job. They know what to look for. They know exactly what they're doing. And very, very famous people have been conned, and very intelligent, well-adjusted, well-educated people have been conned. So no shade being thrown whatsoever if you have experienced someone who has found your Achilles heel in that moment of fear or a need of hope and has scammed you. Absolutely no victim shaming in that at all. I would like to find the people who do that to others and slap them, because that is awful. But I just wanted to take a moment to say I recognize that this is not simply about saying no. For someone like me, it could be. I can just go, well, I'm not believing that. But I also have all those years of my tarot experience and my knowledge of the craft and my knowledge of myself to know when someone's trying to scam me using the tarot. They might try and scam me with something else, but so I just wanted to say that. So whatever you believe, my dears, we've come to the end of our list. Please keep it respectful and open for our lovely community. In the end, tarot enthusiasts, readers, students, creators, and lovers of tarot come from all over the world with different backgrounds and experiences. This plays a part in the way we come to believe and think the tarot works and what it can do. Our culture, our families, our religions, our experiences are all going to play a part in how we interact with this tool. Even if you don't believe the same as someone else, there is more value in being open to a respectful conversation than shutting someone down. You may disagree with my opinions, and that is totally your right. I have given you, hopefully, some food for thought that may help you let go of something that may have been holding you back from getting to work with this amazing tool that you may be drawn to. So as always, thank you so much for watching, and thank you for joining me on this Tarot for Beginners series. I hope you enjoyed it and got a lot out of it. And as always, I'm open to requests for videos or blog posts. So let me know if you have a suggestion for a tarot topic or a tarot biz topic. And may you have a blessed day, evening, night. It could be 4 a.m. when you're watching this. But as always, thank you for spending your time with me on the channel.